Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, doctor, your habit coach, and today we have a very interesting episode. It's an episode very close to my heart because I love the concept of movement, exercise, fitness, and we have an expert with us about movement. We have Sohrab with us in the studio, and we're going to be talking about the different kinds of movement, and if you're not a mover, how to start moving now. So Sohrab, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you so much.
Sohrab, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into all of this?
I was a lawyer for 15 years, different life altogether back then, and fitness and movement and training and sport has been a passion of mine since I was a little kid.
Were you a fit lawyer?
I would like to think so.
So it was always a part of you.
I definitely liked it. I mean, it's been a part of me since I was 12 years old.
Okay.
I started playing cricket at a really young age, and my dad kind of took me to my first cricket practice. Now, certain things you're born with, right? Talent you're born with. Fitness you're not born with. You have to work on it. And that's why I respect people who are really fit, because they've worked on themselves day in, day out for a really long period of time. So for me, it was always about movement. It was always about having fun. It was always about kind of staying as active as possible. It didn't really matter what you look like. For me, that's been the most important thing.
So it wasn't an aesthetic goal. It was more a practical aspect of it.
It's never been aesthetics with me. For me, it's always been about, is it functional? Am I able to make use of it in my day-to-day life? Am I working well with it? That's all that matters to me. So, 15 years of being a lawyer, always passionate about fitness, always passionate about movement, passionate about sport, and I wanted to do something with my passion. I think you live two lives. In my case, I'm living two lives. My first life was what society wanted me to do, or what everyone thought was the right thing to do, growing up as a small little Parsi boy in Bombay. And this life that I'm living right now is the life I've always wanted to live. So I'm following my heart and doing things that I wanted to do since, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 20 years now.
And what did it start off with? Was there an inciting incident? Was there something that happened that made you decide to change?
Well, it's been something that's been on the back of my mind for a really long time. The incident or the thing that actually made me switch, it's really funny. I was working in a law firm in India, and my managing partner took me out for lunch. Now, when your managing partner takes you out for lunch in a law firm, either you're getting sacked or you're getting a promotion and making the next partner. So we went for lunch and we were talking about me being the next capital markets partner in the firm and what needed to kind of go in with it and what was expected of me. And just before I went for that lunch, one of my juniors in the team quit because it was too much for her, right? Work was too much, work hours were crazy. Corporate lawyers don't have a life. And I've lived it for 15 years, so I know we don't have a life.
And you see it on TV and all those shows.
And I always tried to kind of make her understand that this was normal. It was fine. And after a point when I kind of went for that lunch and we were having that conversation, he said, so you know what, we're going to put you up as the next partner and these are the things we expect you to do. I felt empty. I felt like, is this what I kind of worked 20 years for? Is this what I struggled all these years for? It didn't make me happy. What the picture I had in my head when I was going to make partner was, I'm going to be ecstatic. It's going to be great. It's going to feel like, celebrating. I just didn't even hear him. I was in a different world, in a different zone. That made me realize that I was doing something I didn't really like. And that was it. I had to move. And I remember going back to him and saying, I want to quit. And he's like, what is it? Do you want more money? Are you going to another firm? I said, no, I'm just done with the law. And no one believed me at that point in time. But I was genuinely done with that life. So that was it.
Amazing. And then that's when you decided to... Then what was the next step? How did it go into the next transition?
I didn't have a next step. That was the best part. I've always kind of lived on instinct.
So you quit without a plan?
I quit without a plan. I knew I was going to get into fitness. I knew I was going to get into training. I knew I wanted to help people. That was where my passion lay, in trying to make people better. And I didn't have a business plan. I know all my friends kind of went into businesses and life and said that business plan, PPT, this presentation, that presentation. I didn't have anything. I just knew I wanted to do something really, really badly. And I met one of my mentors, or one of the people I kind of look up to a lot, is a gentleman called Ajay Piramal. And there is another lady who's helped me through this entire journey, and her name's Delna Avari. And both of them told me one thing, is like, just follow your heart. Just deal with it. And I never wanted to live with regrets, ever in my life. So I asked my parents, I asked my wife, My wife had to support me because it would be really, really weird if she said no. But she said yes. And that was it. The rest is history.
Amazing. Now, you built one of the most amazing communities around fitness after this, right? What was the thought? Was there a thought about building a community, or did it just happen as you started growing?
It was always about community. For me, what I have realized over my time as someone who's been training, there are certain people who can train alone. There's certain people who can do it really well alone. But there are certain people who just need other people to help them. You need that. We're social animals, right? Human beings are social animals. We can't. I think COVID was a perfect example. We got a little frustrated because we were always at home with ourselves, and we needed people. And the minute things kind of opened up, people were happier. They were going out. They were doing things. So I saw that a lot. And what I saw in the fitness community in a place like India or Mumbai was people came to the gym to be seen. It's very different. People didn't come to train. People came to just be seen. And, I spent 2 hours in the gym and I did this and I did that. Having been a lawyer, I know that we don't have 2 hours of time every single day. Sometimes we have 20 minutes and you got to make the most of it. So I wanted to build a community of people who would help each other get better. I didn't want to build a community of people who would just come there and giggle and show off and, have fun. Yes, fun's a very important aspect to it, but the work has to happen. So for me, it was about building that community, which would help people get better. I think the biggest fault or the biggest problem we have when we're trying to get fitter as human beings is our peers, right? Our family. They're the ones who stop you the most. Like, what's one drink going to do? Like, what's one piece of cake? Come on, it's my birthday. Do this, do that. I wanted to build a community of people who said, you know what? You don't need that piece of cake. You don't need to drink alcohol to have fun. Let's have fun together and let's actually understand what's going on. So that was always the intention. I didn't expect it to happen the way it did, but that was always the intention.
What are some of the pillars of community? Have you thought about, what are the aspects that really made this so successful?
Let the people be themselves.
So it wasn't a regulated community.
No.
Like we see so many communities that have these rules that you follow, etc., etc., etc.
No, our rule is only to come out, train hard, have fun, mingle, go home, live life. If you kind of try and put too many rules together, no one's going to come. For me, it was about come here. This is your safe space. You can do what you want. Just kind of don't hurt yourself. Train, listen to the coach. So for that, you've got to also have a strong leader, someone who's willing to kind of just say, you know what, when it's time to have fun, let's have fun. When it's time to work, let's work. And we've tried to do that. I think one of my favorite examples of building that community is through COVID, we've done a bunch of programs. We still have a lot of online programs. We've had online programs before COVID even started. And we've had this one group on every program that we've done. And these girls have been together for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. They've been on every program we've done. They've never met each other, ever. And this whole bunch of girls went to LA together. Vegas together. And had a girls' night. And there were 20 of them.
Amazing.
And they'd never met each other before that. So for me, that's awesome, right? If you ask me what's the best part about building this, it's exactly that. They don't need me. They don't need the coaches. They need each other. And that's what we want to build. We want to build people helping people.
That's amazing. It's almost like the coach is just one aspect of everything that has happened. It's them doing it themselves that is actually making it move forward.
Always has to be, right? I mean, the way I look at it, the good coaches, the good leaders in the world are the ones who let people be themselves and just kind of make sure nothing goes crazy, right? You've got to manage people. Coaching is as much about managing people. If you look at the best coaches in the world, for me, Alex Ferguson was one of my favorite coaches ever. One of the best band managers in the world. May not have been the best technical coach, but the best man manager in the world. So for me, that's important. I think if you manage the people and manage their expectations, you can get them to do things you want them to do and what they want to do as well.
So as a coach, right, what are 5 things that you wish every person who comes to you realized and knew? Like, oh, I wish you just knew this dhakkan. Like, what is that aspect?
I wish I could say dhakkan all the time. That the Parsi in me would come out. But there are a bunch of things. I think for me, I want people to come in and just be themselves. I think that's the most important thing. I don't expect them to be someone they're not. I want them to come in with the intention of getting better every single day. I think you get better. Stop focusing on the weight. Stop focusing on, how much you weigh and what you look like. And, those are things that will happen in time. So come in there wanting to do the work and get better every single day. and accept people for who they are, right? You can't want to be part of a community and control every single person in that community. It doesn't work that way. You can't, even if you want to. So you've got to be able to manage different attitudes, different people, different likes and dislikes. And once you do that, everything kind of falls into place. So that's it. Actually, those are very three simple things. I want them to come in there and just be themselves. And once you do that, they come in there, be themselves, they work hard, they accept each other, they're willing to help each other, because that's important. You'll form what you need to, and you'll be good.
About 90%, random number that I'm throwing out there, people start their workouts and exercise, etc., from an aesthetic goal, right? They always have an aesthetic goal that they are after.
Yeah.
How did you start that mindset shift for them about saying that don't focus on aesthetic? Did you get pushback? What was it like?
Oh, you always get pushback. And you know what? I look at it this way. May not be the smartest approach, but if that gets them through the door, then it's my job as a coach to make sure I change their attitude. And that's what I've always focused on. Can you run 5 kilometers better? Can you lift better? Can you move better? That's what I care about. So yes, it takes a lot of time to change mindsets. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change lifestyles. I'm not in this to make, there are thousands of people out there saying I've got people to lose overall over my lifetime, got people to lose 100 kilos or 200 kilos or 500 kilos, as a group. I just want people to move, and as long as they're happy and they're doing things that they want to do, the way I look at it I became a dad at a pretty old age, I'd say, at about 33, 34 when I had my first baby. When he's 16 years old, if he's kicking my ass on a sports field, I would be very upset, right? So I want to be able to do those things myself, even when I'm 50 and he's 16. And I still want to be better than him. So for me, that is fitness. And that's where I want to reach. I don't really care about what my body looks like when I'm 50.
When you're moving from this point, right, like the aesthetic goal to the movement goal, how do you first define movement? And why is movement so important for everybody?
We were built to move. Human beings were built to move. We weren't built to sit on a chair. Though we do that all the time, and you and I are doing that right now. But we weren't built to sit on a chair. We weren't built to sit in front of laptops. If you look back, in history, we were hunter-gatherers. We moved. We found our food. We've got spoiled now. We're in the instant generation. Sit down and someone gives you food. Sit down and this comes in. And, now we don't even need to travel for work. Everything's on a laptop. So things have kind of changed over time. But human beings are human beings. The way we're designed hasn't changed. It's not changing. So I think it's very important that people understand that movement's important. I don't care whether they train. I don't care whether they go to a gym or not. That's not important to me. What's important to me is, are they actually making use of their limbs? Are they moving? It's human nature. It's what we're required to do. And as long as we're doing that, for me, that's good enough, right? So whether you want to dance, you want to do yoga, you want to do Pilates, you want to do kettlebells, you want to do RFT, you want to lift weight, that's up to you. Choose whatever you want to choose. I'm not even saying people have to do one of my programs or work with me. I'm very happy as long as they start moving. So even a bunch of my students who've been with me in the past have kind of gone on to do different things and different kinds of movement and different kinds of exercise. I'm very happy. I want them to be independent. That's what we're designed to be. So for me, that's good enough.
When people start this whole journey towards movement, they think that, I've gone to the gym, I've worked out for 1 hour.
Yeah.
But they have to get movement through the day, right? They have to get more than that, just 1 hour of movement in their life. Are there some habits that you typically tell people to do? Are there things that you tell them to, incorporate into their life apart from just standing in standing desks? What else can they do?
Talking from personal experience, I think a standing desk helps. It's not ideal because at the end of the day, people get really, really tired. A few other things you can do is when you're taking a conference call, walk. We all have headsets now. We all have Bluetooth. You have 1,000 other things. Don't sit on the desk and take the conference call. You can walk around. Unless you're on a Zoom and you're on a screen. That might be a little weird. Take the stairs in office. Sometimes if you've got to walk up 2 floors, walk up 2 floors instead of kind of taking a lift. I get very irritated when people take a lift to the first floor. I'm like, unless you're genuinely handicapped, I don't see why you need to take a lift to the first floor. A third thing that I like, and I heard this recently, I've never done it, but I think it's a really, really cool concept, and it really helps from a fitness standpoint, is, say we spend 8 hours in the office, right? We get in at 8:39, we're there till about 4:35. When you get in, go to your desk, put your laptop down, put your bag down, go back down to the ground floor and run up a flight of stairs. 20 seconds. right? It's not gonna sweat. You're not gonna be out of breath. But 20 seconds. Just go as fast as you can. If that's a walk, that's a walk. If that's a run, that's a run. Done. Walk yourself back down. Go back to your desk and sit. Carry on with the rest of your day. Work. Just before lunch, go do that same thing again. Just before leaving office, go do that same thing again. So in a day, you've done 1 minute of climbing stairs. Just 1 minute. Doesn't take much of your time. Doesn't do anything. But actually helps you from a fitness standpoint. So you're moving through the day. I don't buy this whole thing of I can't walk upstairs. Right? I think if you're a human being, you're designed to walk, you'll be fine. So that's another thing that I find really interesting. And I actually asked a few people to do, and they came back to me saying that they've done it and it's been very helpful. So it's 1 minute a day, every single day, doesn't really affect you. So that's one thing. But you know what? It honestly helps people. And, do the basics. Like if you're talking to someone, maybe, if you're having your coffee, just walk around office. Don't be a pain. Don't talk to people and irritate them when they're kind of sitting. But you can walk. I used to have a really bad back growing up as a kid, but that's primarily because we didn't have coaches growing up. As a 16-year-old or 15-year-old going into a gym, I didn't have any coaches. I kind of just learned by experience, and experience generally meant I hurt myself a few times. So I had a busted back, and the one thing I used to do a lot was every 20 minutes I'd get up from my desk, go for a nice stroll for about 30 seconds, come back, sit back down. So what that also did is kept me going, kept me flowing, and got in as much movement as I could through the day. So these are tips that I've kind of followed. The running stairs one, I haven't yet, but I will try it. But I'm very active through the day, so I think I'm okay to skip that right now.
Immediately after the podcast. Run up the stairs. So somebody's just starting off their fitness journey.
Yeah.
They're not into fitness at all. Then you told them gym, they thought you were a mad person, right? So they're just starting off their fitness journey. What are 2-3 habits that you would tell them to immediately incorporate?
Well, the first thing I'd say is kind of start small. People have this whole thing of I'm going to go flat out from day one and then I'm going to sit in bed for the next 5 days because I'm too sore. So I'd say start small, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Anything is good. Anything is good. So that's my first thing. Don't go crazy. Don't go all out. 1st of January, everyone's favorite time to start training. I see the gym packed. 10th of January, gym is empty. That's it. New Year resolution is done. So start small so you can kind of keep it consistent. The second thing I'd say is whatever you're doing, try and be consistent with it. Right? You don't have to do it every day, but don't skip a day. Don't skip more than 2 days or 2 days in a row. That's something that I picked up from this book called Atomic Habits. I love that book. I think it's a great book to read. And it was just very simple. Don't make the same mistake twice. You skip gym day today or training day today, don't skip it again, because then it becomes a habit. And then that Monday never comes, right? And that's it. And the third thing I'd kind of tell them is do something you love, right? You don't have to go to a gym. If it's dance that you love, then shut your doors, sit in your room, blast that music and dance. No problem. That's still movement. If it's yoga that you love, then go ahead, start that. If it's a sport that you love, and I think most people in India love a sport, go play that sport, right? If it's cricket, it's badminton, it's any sport that you like. Be more active with your kids. My favorite thing during lockdown used to be cleaning my own house. Right? I used to clean my own house, swap it, mop it, everything. You start appreciating your maids and your workers after. I promise you, it's not as easy as it looks, and they make it look really easy. So that's a workout in itself. And we actually made people do that on the programs, like clean your house on a Saturday. And they were like, dude, this is the toughest workout of the week. Everything else is doable. So small things, but that they really help in the long run.
Now, you said that figure out something that you enjoy doing, right? So 2 questions. One is that many people say, I don't have a hobby, I don't have a passion. So that is one separate topic. But the thing is that how long should you give a particular thing that you've just taken up before you decide to stop and move on to something else? So I did yoga for how long before I moved to Pilates? I did Pilates how long before I tried going to the gym?
It depends. The answer, I love giving this answer. It depends because it's very subjective. Everyone is different. And I can't give you one straight jacket answer that'll fit for everybody. But when it comes to, let's take training, okay? You're going to a gym to train. The one thing that I have never understood with people is this obsession to do something new every time you go into the gym. Right? Oh, this is boring. I just did this yesterday. It's okay. Do it. Because you only become better when you repeat something, right? You're not going to get better if every day you're doing something different. So you've got to repeat the same movements to get better at it. How long should you kind of keep repeating till you change? I'd say anything between 6 to 10 weeks before you make any sort of changes, because your body has to understand what you're doing. Your body, someone who's never been to a gym can't go in there and suddenly every day want to do a different variation of squat or jump. It's like a kid. Look at a kid. A kid crawls first, then stands, then walks, then runs. And they crawl for a good 6 months. I have a newborn, so I know. They crawl for a good 6 months, 6 to 8 months. So give your training routine at least 6 to 10 weeks before you jump into something else.
6 to 10 weeks, about 2 months-ish
about
is
2
a
to
good
3
idea.
months.
2 to 3 months is a good idea.
Before you even start understanding what you're doing. Okay, if you don't like it, that's a different thing. But give it that time. And we're kind of people who, when we see change, we like it. That's the only thing people care about, right? My body's changed, so I like this. This is working for me, so I'll continue till that change stops happening, and then you want something new. So I also look at it from a lawyer's perspective. We went into office every day and did the monotonous stuff every single day. Every day was not a groundbreaking transaction or a transaction that went into the press. It's the same usual stuff. And then once in a while, you got that groundbreaking piece to do. Same thing with training. Do the boring stuff every single day, because there will be one day when you will be able to do the things you want to do, but that takes time to come to.
So the patience is needed. Do
100%.
the boring stuff.
100%.
Enjoy the boring stuff. I think is one of the key aspects of it.
I read this quote, which I really like. Even if you hate to do something, do it like you love it. And that's discipline, right? Doesn't matter whether you hate it, love it. Just do it like you love it. And it'll kind of happen.
Very interesting. Is there an aspect of fitness that you put more emphasis on, like building muscle or flexibility or cardio, etc., etc., etc.?
For me, it's always been about strength. I think people need to get stronger. Girls in specific, considering they get scared to lift weight for some reason. So strength and be as mobile as possible. I don't think you can kind of straitjacket training into one particular principle. I think all of them are important. But you can have certain things that you focus a little more on. So if it was for me, it depends on what my training cycle is like and what I'm working towards as a goal. But in general, if I had to kind of work with the general population, I'd say the one thing I want them to focus on is getting stronger, because I think there is a lot of emphasis on size 0. There's a lot of emphasis on, being thin, being skinny, because that's what the norm is, and especially with women. I think stronger women are so much cooler than skinny women. And there's no bias here, there's no judgment here. But I just think that, we need to get over this fixation of losing weight and kind of focus on getting stronger and more mobile, because that's what we were meant to do.
So strength, mobility, I think would be far more higher up in the scheme of things than
over weight loss. 100%. Weight loss is right down there. It's strength, mobility, power. You choose what you want to work on. But weight loss, right down in the order.
So now somebody has just started working out. They worked out for about a year, 2 years, etc. What is the next step for their evolution?
Keep at it. Right? It's very easy to start. It's very difficult to maintain.
But they've been doing it for now 2 years. So they're like, now I'm like a pro at this.
I don't think you're ever a pro. But, it's funny because people come to me and saying, dude, I'm an advanced level athlete. I said, how many years have you been working out? 2, 3. How old are you? 25. I've been working out for 27 years. I still don't consider myself to be an advanced level athlete. Right? So I think people's perception, yes, you should vary things. You should change things up. You should mix and match. So the only way I look at training, and my favorite thing about training, is get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? If that's what you're doing in training every day, then you're improving. If you're getting into this comfort zone where you're doing the same thing again and again, your body's used to it, you're happy with it, you're not really challenging yourself, you're not going to change. So if you can do that and challenge yourself every day to get that 1% better every single day, I think you'll be good.
So keep the challenge on as you're going through. What are some of the more advanced stuff that you're looking at? You were telling me a few things before the podcast started. What are all these interesting training modalities that you're doing? I
mean, there are a bunch of them, right? Training is training. You'll always have something new coming up every single day. I think the one thing that doesn't change, and one thing to me that's never changed, is working on your strength. There are different ways of working on your strength, right? So one of the ways that I've really been passionate about, and something that I've really worked on over the last 3 or 4 years, introduced to me by a gentleman called Joseph Sakota. He's also known as Darulk. he started something called RFT, which is raw functional training. The way I was introduced to this was I was flipping through Instagram one day and I was just looking at some of the stuff, and I was looking at things to kind of improve my own knowledge base. And I came across this guy crawling a mile on the road. I said, dude, I want to do this. This looks really cool. I was like, but this is really easy. Like, what's the big deal? You're just crawling. It's not even using weight. The first time I did it, I was like, this is too much. So I kind of tried to get in touch with the guy. I tried to kind of, understand more about it. And he was really sweet about it. He kind of, was very nice, very approachable. And I did his level 1s. I did his workshops. I got certified. And he's the exact opposite of me. I'm the more serious, normal. He's gregarious. He's happy. He's always kind of, full of life. So we get along really well in that sense. And I look at him as a mentor. So he started RFT and I wanted to kind of spread that movement in India. So we started RFT India. RFT is all about using body weight. It's all about kind of creating your own space. You can literally work out in this space. That's 4x4 and you're good to work out. So, and I thought that would work really well in a country like India because we're always constrained for space.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone has the money to go to a gym. Not everyone has money to buy equipment at home. So what better way than to work with your body? And it's tough. It requires 10, 15 minutes a day. And it works on your sensory system. So when I say sensory, I mean audio, visual, as well as your physical. So that's a pretty interesting concept of work. And it's something that I'm really, really passionate about. And we've been doing workshops all over the country now. And we're hoping to get a lot of people interested in the movement.
So what are the principles behind?
Just move, use your own body, and learn to pay attention to what you're doing. I think the one thing that I like about RFT is it tests your mental resilience. That's the first thing that kind of stood out for me. Because at some point, your body's given up anyway, but the mind pulls you through, right? Happens with everybody. So for me, RFT is all about that mind. It's all about you being able to focus because it's a lot of instructions. It's a lot of movement from horizontal to vertical, and you're kind of constantly crawling and doing things. So it takes a lot out of you, and you've got to remember stuff as well. So, most workouts kind of just, what you're doing. You go into a gym, you just lift, you lift, you lift. This is, I need to move, but I also need to think about what's coming next, right? So I need to be switched on. I can't just listen to music and randomly do stuff. And that's what we've kind of gotten to as a community, because we kind of just go to a gym, blast music on our earphones and work out. We're not actually connected. So that's what I like about RFT. So there's a lot of mind-muscle connection. There's a lot of resilience that you're building, and you're working on your brain at the same time as you're working on your physical aspect. So for me, that's amazing.
Amazing. Animal flow, RFT, similar, different?
People confuse the two, but they're very different modalities. Both great forms. I have just been someone who's enjoyed RFT more than animal flow, but they're both great forms of training, and I think they're both equally effective.
And the principles are same?
Similar-ish. You're kind of using your body over a small space, and you're kind of challenging yourself by trying to balance your body in space as well. So similar concepts, but done very differently.
All right, so that was part 1 with Sohrab. Now join us for part 2, where we continued understanding his ideas on fitness.